We all wait for things. We wait for a bus on a rainy day. We wait for a letter from a friend. We wait for a phone call with good news. Our lives are full of waiting, in big ways and in small ways. But I think the biggest, most exciting, and most scary wait is when you are waiting for a baby. You wait for 9 months, you wait for that new life. You paint a room, you choose a name, you dream, and you wait for your life to change forever. What is the most important thing you have ever waited for? I would love to read your story in the comments. My name is Anna, and my story begins with the end of my waiting. My husband Mark and I were so happy. We lived in a small apartment, but it was a home full of love and full of plans. We were waiting for our first baby, a little girl. We were going to call her Lily. Our small apartment was ready for her. We had painted her room a soft, happy yellow, the color of sunshine. We had built a small white crib, and I put a little musical toy, a small spinning star, above it. Every evening, I would sit in the rocking chair in her yellow room, and I would read stories to my big belly. Mark would come in and sing quiet songs. He did not have a good voice, but it was the voice of a father, full of love. Our life was perfect. We were just waiting. But then, the waiting ended too soon. It happened one night, a night of cold rain. I was only 7 months pregnant. It was too early. Much too early. I felt a sharp, sudden pain. I was so scared. I called for Mark. He came running, his face pale with a fear that I had never seen before. We did not pack a bag. We did not have time to think. We just ran to the car and drove to the hospital, the cold rain hitting the car window. The pain was strong, and I was so scared. Not for me. I was scared for my baby, my little Lily. She was not ready to come into the world. It was not time. The hospital was bright and white, and it smelled like medicine. It was a clean, scary smell. Everything happened so fast. Doctors and nurses were all around me. Their voices were fast and serious. I looked for Mark's face, but he had to wait outside. I was alone, and I was so frightened. The delivery was not the beautiful, happy moment I had dreamed of. It was a fast, scary, and silent moment. Lily was born, but she was so small. She was the smallest thing I had ever seen. She was like a tiny, fragile bird, and she was not crying. A baby is supposed to cry. But Lily was silent. The doctors immediately took her. They rushed her out of the room. A nurse quickly said, "She needs help, dear. She is going to a special room, the NICU." That was all. They did not let me hold her. I did not get to touch her hand. I did not get to kiss her head. My baby was here, but she was gone. All in the same second. I was left alone in the cold, white room, the rain still hitting the window. The fear was a cold, hard stone in my stomach. My tiny, silent baby. Was she okay? I lay in that cold hospital room for a long time. The silence was so heavy. My body was tired, but my heart was even more tired. Finally, the door opened. It was Mark, my husband. His face was pale and his eyes were red from crying so much. He came and sat beside me. He took my hand. We didn't speak. There were no words. We were two people in an ocean of fear. We were parents, but we didn't have our baby. The joy we had hoped for, the happy cry of a baby, wasn't there. There was only the sound of rain and the silence of the hospital. After an hour, a nurse came. She had kind, sad eyes. "You can see her now," she said softly. "But only for a few minutes. She's in a very special place." She led us down a long corridor. The corridor was so quiet. I could hear my own footsteps and the rapid beating of my heart. We came to a door that said NICU. The nurse told us it was the neonatal intensive care unit. It was a place for very sick babies. My heart was so filled with fear. The room was dark and full of machines. There was a constant beep, beep, beep sound. And then I saw her, my daughter, Lily. She was in a small plastic box, like a little glass house. She was so small. I couldn't believe a human being could be so small. She was the size of my husband's hand. There were so many wires and tubes. Thin tubes in her nose, thin wires in her chest. A small blue light shone on her foot. She was sleeping. Her chest moved up and down, a movement so small, almost invisible. The nurse told us the box was an incubator. It kept Lily warm. The machines were helping her breathe. The wires were watching her heart. "She's a fighter," the nurse whispered. "She's very strong." I so badly wanted to hold her. I wanted to pick her up and put her on my chest. I wanted to tell her, "I'm here. Mommy is here." But I couldn't. The glass box was between us. There was only a small hole in the side of the box. The nurse said I could put my hand inside. My hand was trembling. I slowly put my hand inside the box. I touched her arm. Her skin was so soft, like a flower petal. I touched her hand. Her whole hand was smaller than my finger. She was so fragile, so precious. Mark put his hand inside too. We just stood there, touching our daughter's tiny fingers, and we cried, silently. After a few minutes, the nurse said we had to go. We had to leave her alone in her glass box. Leaving that room was the hardest thing I've ever done, leaving my baby behind. We went back to my hospital room. The silence was even worse now, because now we knew how small and sick she was. We sat together and waited. Later that night, the head doctor came to see us. She was an older woman with a serious face and tired but kind eyes. She sat down. "I'm Dr. Evans," she said. "I'm Lily's doctor." We waited, our hearts stopped. "I need to be very honest with you," she said softly. "Lily is very, very sick. She was born very prematurely. Her lungs are very small. They're not ready to breathe air. They're not formed yet." I couldn't breathe. Mark held my hand so tightly it hurt. Dr. Evans continued. "The machines are breathing for her now. We're giving her medication to help her lungs grow. We're doing everything we can. But she's very weak. Her body is too tired to fight." She paused and looked at us with deep sadness in her eyes. "Mr. and Mrs. Miller," she said, and her voice was full of terrible compassion. "I don't think she's going to survive the night. I'm so sorry. I'm so, so sorry." The world stopped. Her words, "She won't survive," echoed in the silent room. No. No. This couldn't be real. This was a nightmare. I looked at Mark. He was crying, his face in his hands. I couldn't cry. I was empty. I felt nothing. It was such a great pain that it was like silence. The doctor who was supposed to save my baby was telling me that my baby was going to die. The night was the longest of my life. We didn't sleep. How could we sleep? We just sat on my hospital bed, holding hands in the dark. Every time a nurse passed by in the hallway, our hearts stopped. We were waiting for the news that our daughter was gone. We didn't talk about it. We couldn't. We only talked about the little yellow room at home. The little yellow room she would never see. The musical star above the crib she would never hear. The night was endless. The rain stopped and the moon appeared, but for us, it was just darkness. We waited, by the end. Morning arrived. The sun began to shine through the window. It was a new day, but our world had ended. We were just sitting there like two ghosts, waiting for the nurse with the sad news. And then there was a knock on the door. It wasn't a nurse. The door opened, and it was Dr. Evans, the doctor. She came into my room. My heart stopped. She was there. Dr. Evans. She was standing at the foot of my bed. This was the moment. The moment she would tell us the terrible news. I closed my eyes. I couldn't look at her. I couldn't breathe. Mark held my hand so tightly I could feel his bones. I heard Mark's voice. It was a broken whisper. "Doctor?" There was a long silence. And then Dr. Evans spoke. "Mr. and Mrs. Miller." Her voice was strange. It wasn't sad. It wasn't full of pity. I didn't recognize the sound. I opened my eyes. She wasn't looking at us. She was looking at the floor, as if she were thinking deeply. Then she raised her head, and her eyes, her professional and scientific eyes, were full of confusion and something else. Wonder. "I don't have a medical explanation," she said, her voice quiet. "I've been a doctor for 30 years. I've seen many, many things in this intensive care unit. I thought I'd seen it all." She paused. Mark and I just stared at her. We didn't understand. What do you mean?" I whispered. She looked directly at me. "Lily, she survived the night." My heart leaped so hard it hurt. "What?" "She's not just still with us, Mrs. Miller," the doctor said. "She's better, she's much better. Her oxygen levels are stable. Her heart is strong. Her lungs, they're responding to the medication in a way we didn't expect. I don't know how to explain it. She's a fighter. A very strong little fighter." Mark let out a sound, a cry of relief he had been holding back all night. I started to cry, but this time they were warm tears. Tears of hope. "Is she alive?" I kept asking. "Is she really alive?" Dr. Evans, the serious woman of science, had a small, genuine smile on her face. "Yes, Anna," she said. "She's alive. I came here to give you the worst news of your life. And instead, I'm here to tell you. I was wrong. Your daughter is a little miracle." Dr. Evans told us that Lily was still very, very sick. She wasn't out of danger. She would have to stay in the hospital for a long time. Months, maybe. She still needed the machines. She was still so small and fragile. The fight wasn't over. But it had begun. "We're not waiting for the end anymore," the doctor said. "Now we're fighting for the beginning." After she left, Mark and I ran. We ran down the silent hospital corridor back to the NICU. We needed to see her. We needed to see our miracle. We stood in front of the small glass box. And there she was. She looked different. She didn't look so gray and pale. Her skin was rosy. She was sleeping, but she looked like she was resting. She didn't look like she was fighting to survive. She looked like she was living. "Oh, Mark," I cried. "She's so beautiful." "She's perfect," he whispered. We placed our hands on the incubator and touched her tiny feet. "Keep fighting, little Lily," Mark said. "We're right here. Mommy and Daddy are here." Our lives changed completely that day. The hospital became our new home. The sadness and fear didn't go away. But now there was a new feeling. Hope. And hope is a heavy thing. It's a fragile thing that you're afraid to break. We learned a new routine. We learned the sounds of the machines. Before, the beep, beep, beep sound was terrifying. Now it was the sound of our daughter's life. We learned the names of all the nurses. They became our family. They taught us how to care for Lily. And then, a week later, on a day I'll never forget, a nurse named Maria asked me, "Would you like to hold her?" I was so scared. "Can I? With all the wires?" "Yes," she said. "We'll help you." They carefully took Lily out of the incubator. All the wires and tubes were still attached to her. They placed her on my chest. "Skin-to-skin contact," the nurse said. "It's the best medicine." I finally held my daughter. She was so light. I could feel her tiny heart beating against mine. I could feel her warm breath on my skin. And I looked at my baby, and she wasn't a fragile little bird. She was a warrior. She was the strongest girl I knew. I sang to her the same quiet songs that Mark sang. I used to sing to my belly. And I knew, in that moment, holding it, that we were going to be okay. The yellow room at home was no longer a sad memory. It was our future. It was the place we were fighting to go. The long wait had only just begun. The hospital was our home for 98 days, 98 long days. Our life was a cycle of washing our hands, sitting in the chair next to the incubator, and waiting. We learned a new language, a language of numbers. We didn't ask, "How is she?" We asked, "What are her numbers?" The oxygen level. The heart rate. Each little number was good or bad news. We celebrated things other parents never think about. We celebrated the first time she breathed without the big machine. We celebrated the first day she wore real baby clothes, clothes so tiny they looked like doll clothes. We celebrated every gram she gained. A gram is so little, but to us, it was a mountain. It was a victory. Our team of nurses became our family. They taught us how to touch our daughter without hurting her. They taught us how to change a tiny diaper inside the glass box. They cried with us on the bad days, and they celebrated with us on the good days. And slowly, the good days began to outnumber the bad days. After 2 long months, Lily was finally strong enough to leave the incubator. She was in an open hospital crib. She still had tubes to help her eat and small wires in her chest, but she was in a real crib. We could hold her. We could hold her. We were finally a family. We thought the hardest part was over. But then we had another meeting with the doctors. This time, it was with a specialist, a doctor who studied how babies grow. He had a serious face. He told us that Lily was a miracle to be alive, but he was worried. Babies who are born so early, he said, sometimes have developmental problems. Their brains, their muscles, they haven't had enough time to grow. We don't know if she'll develop like other children. Things like walking or talking can be very difficult for her. He told us we needed to be patient. We just had to wait and see. Then our waiting changed. We were no longer waiting for her to live. We were waiting for her to walk. We finally took her home. Oh, that day, the happiest day of our lives. We put our little Lily in her car seat. She looked so small in the big car. We drove home, so slowly. And when we opened the door to our apartment and walked into her little yellow room, it was the best feeling in the world. Our baby was home. Life was wonderful. But the doctor's concern was like a small gray cloud in our happy sky. Lily was a happy baby. She was quiet. She rarely cried. She just watched everything with her big, wise eyes. We loved her so much. But while other babies her age were starting to sit up or crawl, Lily just watched. Our friends told us, "Don't worry. Every baby is different." But in our hearts, we were scared. When Lily was a year old, she still wasn't crawling. She wasn't trying to stand up. We took her back to the specialist. He did a lot of tests. He moved her legs. He watched her try to grab a toy. He was very quiet. Then he sat in his big chair and looked at us. His voice was very scientific, very cold. "I'm so sorry," he said. "The signs are clear. Her leg muscles are very weak. It's premature birth damage. She'll probably never walk. You need to start preparing for a life with a wheelchair." His words were like a punch. No, no. We had fought so hard. Lily had fought so hard. This couldn't be true. We went home. My husband, Mark, was angry. "He's wrong," he said. "He doesn't know Lily. He doesn't know our fighter." But my heart was broken. Again. I had lost all hope. That night was the second worst night of my life. I cried. I told God it wasn't fair. And then came the next morning. I woke up. The sun was shining. I felt so heavy with sadness. I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to face a world where my daughter would never run in a garden. I just lay there, my eyes closed. My husband was already in the kitchen making coffee. The apartment was quiet. Then I heard a small sound from Lily's room. It was a small cry of effort. "Ugh," I opened my eyes. "Mark?" I called. "Can you check on Lily?" I heard his footsteps in the hallway, and then I heard him stop. He didn't say anything. I heard a small sigh. "Mark?" I said again, my voice now frightened. "What is it? Is she okay?" I heard his voice. It was trembling. "Anna?" he whispered. "Anna, look." I sat up in bed. I looked at my bedroom door, and then I saw her. My daughter. Lily. She was standing in my bedroom doorway. She wasn't crawling. She was standing, alone. Her little legs were trembling. She was holding on to both sides of the door, but she was standing. I couldn't breathe. "Oh my God," I whispered. She looked at me, and she smiled. A big, proud, beautiful smile. She was so proud of herself. And then she did the most miraculous thing of all. She let go of the door, and she took a step. A small, trembling, unsteady step. And then another. And then she fell. A small, soft fall onto her diapers. Mark and I ran to her. We weren't sad because she fell. We were crying tears of joy. We hugged her. She was laughing. She had no idea what a miracle she was. She had no idea she had just done the impossible. Dr. Evans told us our baby wouldn't survive. But the next morning, she was a miracle. The specialist told us our baby would never walk. But the next morning, she walked into my room. She was a walker. Our daughter, Lily. She wasn't a story about illness. She was a story about hope. She was proof that doctors don't always know everything. And she was proof that sometimes in life, miracles are real. If this story about hope and the strength of a little baby touched your heart, please give this video a like. What does the word hope mean to you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And for more exciting stories in English that will help you learn and feel, please follow our channel.